Well, looks like today I'm talking about settings, because apparently to some people it's a very interesting topic. I tried to avoid it for so long because I personally don't find it very exciting. It's not something I'm very interested in, but seeing how I keep getting comments like what font I'm using, how do I change my font, what are my in-game settings, why is my game looking so good compared to theirs, I figured, yeah, let me just make this video so I can link people here straight so you can see my settings and, make whatever you want out of them. Hopefully from this video you will learn something. If not, well, if you're not interested in settings, then why are you here? I would say this is PC settings for the PC version of Black Desert. I have no idea. I never even touched the console version because I don't have one. So I don't know what you can use from this video, what parts are, transferable, but hey. Again, this is personal preference. It's not the most optimal settings or the recommended ones or whatever. It's just what I use to make the game look the way it does. Hopefully you can get a similar result by copying this. Most of this video will be just copy paste what you see on the screen so that I don't have to explain everything. I will just try to touch on what seems to be most important. So first of all, let me put on the screen my PC specs because I know that's important. With different specs you will get different results, obviously. So from those, the most important ones are my graphics card, a GTX 1080, which is currently in my case slightly undervolted, slightly overclocked because my room is very hot. I have heat pipes under my room. Literally I live at the bottom floor of my apartment, and because of that, to keep the GPU kind of cooler, I undervolted it. Anyway, GTX 1080, a 1440p monitor. I have two monitors. The secondary one is 1080p for media and mostly that, and the main one, which I use for Black Desert, is 1440p. Maybe that's why my game looks a lot better, because of the higher resolution, and it runs at 60 fps because that's the most it can do. Those are the most important ones, the monitor and the GPU. I have 32 GB of RAM, but that's mostly for editing, and the rest is, you can see it on the screen. So with these PC specs, basically, let me start with the in-game settings, so what you can copy and paste. I'm just gonna go, as I said, quickly through these. You can pause the video whenever you feel like it. I'm using high textures, very high graphics. I almost never use remastered because with my GTX 1080 and 1440p, I get like 45 to 50 FPS while grinding on remastered, so it drops FPS. I will say for these settings I tried to go for as clean as possible, the UI as simple. These days I'm basically the definition of a casual player, so there's a lot of stuff in the game that I just don't care about anymore. So I just want a clean game that looks nice and all of that. So this is what I'm running, a stable 60 FPS, very high, all of these enabled. Optimizations, make sure you disable low power option. I have attack decisions enabled for back attacks and crits. Again, optimizations for performance, prioritize performance as little characters as possible. This one I only disable for node wars when I occasionally do those, very rarely. Camera, usually 100% vision range. I don't have workers enabled, I don't want to see those. Pets, I only want to see mine. This is a new option that I discovered today. Up until today it was disabled. I don't know what NPCs will be hidden, but I will find out sometime today. Again, resolution 1440p. I play in windowed because I have two monitors and I want to be able to alt tab between them pretty easy. UI scale 100%. This one I used to have in the past, obviously, a 1080p monitor, and for that one, if you're playing at 1080p, make sure the UI scale is at 80%. That way it will look almost identical, if not exactly identical to this in terms of scaling, how everything looks. For 1440p, 100% scaling. For 1080p, 80% UI scaling with this current font, which I will show you later how to put. Besides that, display settings, these are the same as previously. I don't have blood enabled, don't want that. These are personal preference because I don't really do PvP much these days, so I have other players' effects disabled, so maybe it improves some performance. These might be one of the biggest reasons why my game looks the way it does, because these do transfer through the video into the, through the recording into the video. So 25% brightness, 35% contrast is what I'm using 99% of the time. Sometimes I play with the sliders, and vibrance. Effect opacity, I use 100% for effects. Camera, usually again 100% vision range, normal, overall effects 100%, and if you want to remove some of the shakiness, this is what I'm using, 6%, 12, 12 and 12. Screenshots doesn't really matter, I keep it on current resolution so that the text isn't way too small when I use it for videos. Just make sure you put no watermark so that the black desert watermark on screenshots will not be shown. Audio settings, personal preference, I like to have my fairy enabled, and then all of these. Volume, again, that matters what speakers you're using. For me it's overall between 10 and 20%. I don't use music almost never, just because again I have two monitors and the second one is usually with YouTube or whatever else, so no music. These are the individual sliders if you really want to use them, but in videos you don't hear the audio, so it doesn't really matter. General simplification, I have simplified UI enabled. I don't use quick slots. I did in the past for my wizard, but I don't anymore. Attack decision, this thing enabled. Show hide, just copy and paste all of these if you want a similar result. Again, I try to go for simplicity. Alerts, this one might be one of the most important things, honestly, because I have disabled everything except for guild missions. This is why in my videos you don't really see anything pop up on the top of the screen over and over with marketplace registrations for whoever failed pen, whoever failed death, whoever enhanced, whatever. I just don't care about any of that, so it's disabled. The only downside for this is that you will not see what your guild is enhanced. So if someone gets something and you see congratulations on the guild chat, you're gonna kind of be left in the dark not knowing what happened. But I can live with that. World settings, these language, these miscellaneous, these just copy and paste, and again you will have a similar result. And interface, this is a useless tab. I literally didn't change anything from here. This is basically default except for enabling the gamepad, the controller, the gamepad, because sometimes I use it and I prefer to just plug it in and have it work. So that's basically it for my settings. Again, just copy and paste them and you will have a similar outcome. Then there's my edit UI for how my UI looks. Copy and paste, all I'm going to say. I don't use these, never did. I don't find them useful for someone who doesn't play PvP. I don't do quests, so again, quests disabled as well. Make sure you disable the game tips on the bottom left of the screen, and then move the chat a bit down to fill that space, and that's more or less it. I'm using the old HP bars if you didn't notice yet, so these are the old ones. And besides the UI, I think there's the chat. This is once again personal preference, but me being a YouTuber, I have one separate chat that is completely empty with nothing enabled, just because I want to be able to disable the chat easy. I like to have different chats for different uses. Good thing I just reopened the game and nothing is shown. Congratulations me. But chat number 3 is number 3 I said. Number 3 is literally only whispers, because usually I keep the game running for days and days and I want to see my whispers from a couple of days ago if I missed them, so this is only whispers. Chat 2 is basically guild chat, party chat, whispers, the important information, guild alliance, nothing that is spam or all of that. And then I have chat number 1 for literally everything else except for system, in case I want to see those, I suppose. I never really use system. I know I see a lot of videos on YouTube with people who have drop information for every item, but I just see it as spam and it annoys me, so I don't have anything in terms of drop information, marketplace registrations. Those I don't really care about them, that's all I can say. So it's disabled. And also I use family names. It's easier if you get used to this early game, you know, as soon as you start, so that you don't have to adjust later. Family names, it makes it so much easier to keep track of people. Besides that, I guess I can show you now how to put the font that I'm using. Do I still have the window open? Yes, I do. Here. So how do you change font? Literally just go on Google and Google how to change font in Black Desert, and you will find this Reddit page as the first result, I believe. Yeah, literally the first Reddit result is how to change font in Black Desert. Go here, read all of this, and this is how you install any font in Black Desert. I am using this one, KE font. I tried maybe 1 or 2 years ago when I discovered this. A lot of fonts because I had the time and patience. Maybe like 20 plus fonts, and in the end I always went back to this one because this one seemed to scale and look the best with Black Desert. Once you download the .ttf font, you go to wherever you have your Black Desert installed. In my case, it's a custom location, so this is my Black Desert directory where the game is installed. You go here to the main directory and make this pre-string table folder. Inside of it you make the font folder, and inside that font folder you put the font you just downloaded, which can be literally any font. And you rename it to perl.ttf and then restart the game, and it should work again for PC version. The only problem is that you can literally use any font, but most of them will look bad with the game. Either they will scale bad, the text will be too small or too big. Even this one, the K font that I use, is not perfect, but it's the closest I got, and it looks pleasing enough to the point where I want to keep it. So this is what I wanted to show you. Even here you can see the text is slightly bigger than it's supposed to be. Here appearance, it's slightly bigger than it's supposed to be. On information here, I'm pretty sure I can find it if I look, if I look specifically for it. There are places where text is bigger than it's supposed to be, but in general it's literally the font I've been using for like 2+ years, and just use it if you want. Besides the font and in-game settings, some other stuff that could impact the way the game looks and all of that. My NVIDIA settings, I never owned an AMD graphics card, so I can't really say anything about that. I'm personally using Shadowplay, or it was previously named Shadowplay, to record videos and instant replay for clips, so I rely on this a lot, and because of this I am sticking to NVIDIA graphics cards. Maybe next time I will try an AMD one if such a function exists, but still. In terms of NVIDIA settings for Black Desert, most of them don't really do anything. I tried them a long time ago, and most of them don't really do much, except this one, the anisotropic filtering, or however you pronounce this one. I don't know exactly how to describe how this works in English especially, but basically it makes your textures look sharper in a way. That much most people can understand, and all of these numbers, all it does is it increases the range at which it is applied. Times 16 versus times 8, I almost never notice any difference between these two, and also on times 16 it stutters sometimes a little bit, and because of that I just stick to times 8, and this is my default for Black Desert. Besides that, I have this one, triple buffering enabled, mostly as a form of placebo, because I know it increases my input lag, but I don't really notice any difference whatsoever with or without it, so I just keep it because I feel like the game runs maybe smoother. I don't know. Try it if you want or not. Besides this, there's some settings which I think actually these don't transfer. Depends a lot on what monitors you have, but I have these two monitors, my main one for BDO and then this secondary one for for media. This is what I'm using in terms of brightness, contrast, whatever. Vibrance makes a lot of impact, honestly. It makes the colors pop, and again, this depends a lot on what monitors you have, different panels, different settings, but I'm pretty sure these don't even get transferred through the recording onto YouTube. So if I move these sliders, I'm pretty sure nothing will happen on your end. You're going to see nothing changed. So because of that, just go on this panel on your computer and play with the sliders until you get something that looks pleasing to your eyes, and use that. That's it for NVIDIA settings. Besides all of that, I guess there's something somewhat irrelevant in a way, which is Riva Tuner Statistics Server. I'm using this in a way to maybe give me better frame times, which is I don't know how to put it, maybe a better VSync option if you are running the game like me at 60 FPS. Again, I don't really like stuttering, so on my 60 Hz monitor I'm only going to be running 60 FPS. I don't care about the 5% faster grinding speed or whatever that I get by maybe uncapping my FPS to get close to 90 or 100, and I also don't want to run the game in potato mode. So because of that, I use 60 FPS, and with Riva Tuner Statistics Server, maybe it will be a more smooth 60 FPS for people who want to try it out, just as an option. While I'm at this, I guess I could show you also my MSI Afterburner settings. Might as well open the game so that the GPU goes back to its normal speed. This is basically what I'm using in terms of my GTX 1080 undervolted and slightly overclocked speeds. Again, my room is pretty hot, so I try to keep the GPU under 75 degrees. This is what I'm using. I change it from time to time, but for the sake of this video, you don't really care unless you have specifically a GTX 1080. So I'm going to end this video here because this is more or less what I wanted to say in terms of my settings and all of that. If you want to get a similar result, then just copy most of what I showed in the video. As a highlight, I will just say that probably the most important parts to keep in mind are 25% brightness, 35% contrast, and vibrance filter for in-game settings. I play at 1440p, so higher resolution, that might make the game look sharper, and I think that's about it. GTX 1080 for graphics card and very high settings. That's more or less it in my opinion, and I keep saying more or less a lot. I will try to maybe hold back on that, but more or less that's it for the video. I will see you tomorrow with another one, or in 2 days whenever I'm done testing, as you can see, Ronaros Forest, and until then, well, bye.